Hey, what's up, everybody? Solomon here. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic day. Obviously, a lot of turmoil in the markets right now. I kind of wanted to make this video to allow people to see maybe a little bit of what the bigger picture is in this space. So this is DMI, the Digital Monetary Institute. This was just posted overnight. This is OMFIF, is how I pronounce it. If you're not aware, this is the official Monetary and Financial Institutions Forum. It's obviously a private consortium of some of the heaviest power hitters in this space. I mean, you can go down through who some of the capital markets members are, and we're talking about China Financial Services, Association for Financial Markets in Europe, DBS Bank, Commercial Bank of China, Barings, California Department of Finance, World Economics and Politics, like all sorts of stuff across the board, right? I don't need to get into every single organization in here. Bank of China, this is monetary policy. They put out a very, very long document, 76 pages. And this is talking about evolution or revolution. And it's very much so referencing a time for renewal in global cross-border payments. So this should ring out as a bell of resonance for everybody that's in this space that has been dealing in assets like Hedera Hashraf, been dealing in assets like XRP, been dealing in assets like Stellar, thinking about Algo regarding CBDCs and everything concerning that. Onyx, it mentions for JP Morgan here. Actually, interesting asset. Maybe you guys look into it. Maybe you don't. This is Metamui. Metamui is Internet of Sovereign Digital Currencies. This is actually a digital asset. I can't remember what the market cap of this thing was when I looked at it, but it was around 100 million or less. In conjunction with Visa, all sorts of different things. Interesting read, but just kind of understanding where the big picture of everything goes here, okay? Everything goes digital. Everything, the majority of everything gets tokenized. The majority of everything will get revamped entirely based on the efficiency mechanisms that digital assets, blockchain, distributed ledger, things like Hashraf are going to be able to provide to these institutions. So regardless of what the market is doing right now, if you're picking assets that you have vetted out not only from a fundamental standpoint, but that are not at all-time high, and you are weighing out the risks based on when you're buying things, you're going to be completely fine in this space. I've been here since the end of 2016, and I really feel like the first time that I got a good grasp over kind of the whole picture of what a cycle would look like was probably about 4 or 5 months ago. And even then, I'm sure that there's tons of stuff that I'll learn over the course of the next cycle. Not saying even that this cycle is over, but over the next 3 to 4 years, I'm sure that I'll learn just as much. Tokenization, infrastructure, remittances, cybersecurity, wholesale payments, talking about ISO 20022. The biggest thing that we all need to remember, the amount of inefficiencies that are going on currently in cross-border payments are absolutely insane. So 3.3, I'm assuming this is trillion cross-border transaction volume, cost, and time. 20.5 trillion in transaction volume, flows and cross-border transactions. That's in 2020 alone. The transaction costs for that 20.5 trillion in volume was $120 billion, excluding FX costs, spent to facilitate cross-border transactions in 2020. That equivalates to a third of Singapore's entire gross domestic product, which is insane. And the average settlement time, when I know that I can send you a digital asset, depending on which asset it is and how much utility that asset may have from a speed standpoint and a cost standpoint, I can send you one and you may get it in 3 to 4 seconds. Obviously, we know XRP is about 4 to 6. Hashraf's insanely fast. We've seen many that are insanely fast, but 2 to 3 days settlement time is the norm right now for cross-border transactions, which is just insane. Obviously can't survive. I will recommend looking through this document. It talks about Algo, it talks about Stellar, it talks about Ripple a little bit, some MoneyGram comments there based on Ripple. It talks about what Swift is doing, some of the fintech providers like Wise and Revolut. So I would recommend looking through this, but this just kind of, these documents are very important. I try to pay attention to what companies are co-sponsoring or involved in these documents. And obviously reading through it, for transparency's sake, if I were to sit down and read through an 80-page document every time I would find one, I wouldn't have enough time in the day to do so. So I try to use like Control F and targeted search functions for assets or terms like interoperability. I will target search cross-border. I will target search distributed ledger, blockchain, DLT, CBDC, maybe assets that I'm interested in as well. Again, big picture stuff. I understand that prices aren't exactly where everybody wants them right now, but if you're willing to just sit down and continue paying attention, you're going to do just fine in this space as long as you're vetting things out. Went over the advisors. This is MetaMui's website. Again, not advocating buying this asset, but certainly mentioned within that document. And if you want to take a look through this, recommend doing so. We can see they're partnered with OMFIF and Nordic Blockchain Association, Digital Economy Incubation Center, Uzbekistan Mind Sports Federation, blah, blah, blah. So, all right, moving forward, again, just more rhetoric across the board. MasterCard study finds that the majority of consumers embrace open banking to power digital financial experiences, aka the future is here. We've been alluded to the fact that MasterCard is a Ripple client, along with many other initiatives that don't deal with Ripple in this space. Thought this was interesting today, and again, I'm just kind of going through here. Chinese province applies blockchain and smart prison system to cut corruption and abuse cases. All right, the one thing that I did really want to touch base on, and I caught a Crypto Crew University video earlier this morning. I have to get caught up on my blockchain backer, but Bitcoin's sitting right at the 200-day moving average right now, which historically, obviously, we don't come down and play with the 200-day moving average during a bull market, but we can see that we did that previously as well. We didn't close a full body weekly candle below the 200-day moving average on the weekly chart back in September, but we came damn close, obviously, and we powered above it. Maybe looking at a double top here, maybe looking at a triple top. Who knows exactly what's going to happen, but I would say just pay attention to this support range right now. If we break below and we close fully below it, I'm sure that it's bad news. But actually, we closed below it in May, which is what really kind of caused that hurt. So we were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 weeks to break back above it. So a good 3 months after we closed that candle below it. Or you could say 11 weeks after we actually had a full body candle close below it before we broke back above. Kind of retested support and went back on to do our little bit of a double top action. So curious to see where Bitcoin goes. I think that we all want a little bit of a retracement to the upside regardless of what happens. Hopefully prior to the end of the year so we can all make some decisions before then. But again, if you're not buying assets at parabolic tops or near all-time highs, for the XRP community, we don't have to worry about that anyways. But if you're not doing that, and you're here for more sustainable investment-based choices, I think that you're going to be fine long-term. Again, not financial advice. That's just my opinion of it. It's been very difficult to try to present all of these assets that seem to be the new best asset possible to people in this space, not only for the past 2 or 3 months, but for the past 4 or 5 months, really. We've seen some outliers and some assets do insane things, obviously. But really, the big kicker for me is paying attention, keeping up with the news, staying on top of recent developments, and allowing for myself to ride out wherever this cycle may go. Maybe make some speculative plays in the meantime, but really just kind of being patient and ensuring that I have a position set aside so that when we do end up having some sort of a capitulation or a bottom moment, I'm prepared this time, because as we know, in March of 2020, if you were to have made a move like that, where you had a position prepared on the side for assets, and you could have literally just invested into assets that were already well known, that already were known to have had utility, that had bottomed since the previous cycle, and you could have sat on your hands for a year and made insane amounts of gains. Look at Cardano, for example. You can even look at Bitcoin, for example, because I think Bitcoin was around $3,800. You would have almost 20x your money. So, yeah, I mean, it's all about patience in this game. We are in the right space. We are in the right space. The financial institutions, the legacy institutions know that we are in the right space. They can manipulate the market as much as they want to, but they can't control this market inherently yet. What they can do is potentially control the rhetoric that's being presented across the board for all of us to see. And, I'm not going to pay attention to it. It may or may not affect price, but I believe that price action dictates the news and not the other way around. unless you're an XRP holder in December of 2020. We all know that news dictated price action. Thank you, SEC. Okay, real quick, I wanted to go through a couple of these things here. Adidas, very much so getting into the metaverse. I will touch base a little bit more on metaverse here near the end of this, but I wanted to touch base on this. So you can now hold physical Swiss gold on the Ethereum blockchain. Now, I'm more interested in who the banking organization is. It's Seba Bank, and launching a digital token that allows investors to take ownership of physical gold stored in Swiss vaults, all through the Ethereum blockchain. Now, you can do a little bit more research into this if you want to, but I wanted to kind of bring up maybe one connection here. Seba Bank partnered with R3, okay? And very much so dealing with the quarter-based digital asset shared ledger, so DASL, right? If we're looking at DASL, Zinfin, and this was about a few months ago, enterprise-ready hybrid blockchain technology company is the first company to utilize the DASL crypto bridge. The bridge enables Zinfin's XTC to move from the XTC network over to the public Corda network to be utilized as a settlement token inside the Corda ecosystem. You can look into DASL here. There's relationships with Ripple, obviously. Royal Bank of Scotland. Is that the Richard Crook dude? This is Farzad, the guy that was had relationships with Ripple, Ripple, Ethereum, Corda, and is a key contributor to the Corda open source project. Last but not least, talking about Adidas getting into the metaverse. This is kind of why I'm alluding to paying attention and just doing your own due diligence and research in this space. So I really need to do another sweep of coins here. This was on Patreon. I'm not suggesting you become a Patreon. That's rather here nor there. But this is November 16th, 2020. I went through, I think the top like 3,000 or 4,000 coins by volume. And at that point in time, I think on CoinMarketCap, there was only probably 6,000 or 6,500 coins. Now, I will say as a caveat, make sure you're not just going to CoinMarketCap because price data is not always correct, as we saw yesterday. Utilize CoinGecko. I think some people use Live CoinWatch and all sorts of different things. But this is just some of the things that you can do when the market isn't super overhyped, okay? I talked about a couple of different assets with this sweep of coins. I talked about Crust, Barnbridge. One of the big ones that I talked about was Luxo, which I believe I posted about this November 16th. Obviously, I always have a disclaimer saying that things are risky. Talking about Nike, Burberry, Energy Web, Instagram, Chanel, created by the former Ethereum developer that was the author of ERC20 and Web3.js. And these are the things you can do when the market's not overhyped, though. This was November 16th. You're looking at 78 cents for buying Luxo back then. Would I rather buy it back in November 16th or would I rather buy it now? Origin Protocol, same thing. Origin did really great things. Kusama, same thing. Actually, I'm curious now. I don't even know what Kusama was at back then, but Jesus. Yeah, Kusama was at 36 bucks. Anyways, regardless. Just keep a level head in this space. I mean, Keeper 3v1 was another good one. I got to try to allocate some time to do something like this again, just for myself and for some of my patrons. But regardless of where we're at in this market cycle, if you're not buying into all-time highs, if you're not buying at all-time high within an RSI, RSI is essentially overbought and oversold conditions. If you're not buying assets that everybody's telling you to buy without researching them for yourself, without looking at a chart for yourself. And there's really easy ways to look at charts. Number one, use a couple of metrics. I mean, the best buying opportunity for any asset across the board is never going to be when the asset is at all-time high. I would argue and say, one rule that I've tried to utilize is not buying an asset unless it's 50% down from all-time high. Looking at the RSI, looking back into the past to see how price action moved during certain situations that are happening currently in price action, or certain indicators that are happening currently. And using that foundational based research on top of just looking very simply at a chart and not paying attention to all the hype, not paying attention to all the noise, and just understanding for a sound investor, for a sound investment choice, is this something that I should be doing right now? And again, I'm not advocating you guys not to play the market. You guys do your own things, but there's the best times to buy and there's not the best times to buy. And I think nobody can disagree with it. The best time to buy is, you're never going to time the bottom, but near the bottom, near during those capitulation moments when everybody says crypto is dead and you're willing to strengthen it out. You have something on the side and you're willing to just wait. And you can wait because you've actually looked and you know you're not buying at a bad time. You're not defined as 100% having it guaranteed that that price goes back up. But if you look into something that has potential real utility, is potentially solving real problems, has a team behind it, has partners behind it, that should make you much more comfortable in the positions that you were potentially dealing in. And again, the past probably 6 to 8 months for me has been very much so that not the best time to buy type time frame. And it may sound crazy, but if you look back into March and what the assets have done since then, it's not untrue. There have been assets that have ran, but the best times to buy are during near capitulation moments. So again, I was just trying to give my 2 cents on the state of the market. I will post this this Digital Monetary Institute Future of Cross-Border Payments 2021 document for you guys on YouTube, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. A little bit longer, but I'm seeing a lot of people just deal with some real actual issues that aren't just, financial issues are real issues, but this market takes a toll mentally on a lot of people, and it's certainly taken a toll on me. I've heard that some other big YouTube influencers have done things lately stating the same thing. Everybody just needs to step back every once in a while, understand that we are in the correct space, and try to look at timing and just try to understand what we're actually invested in, because this, regardless of what is or is not going to happen in this cycle, I'm not saying that the top is in. I'm not saying that we completely go towards the bottom again. Regardless of what happens, this market is not over. There will be more cycles and more opportunities. It's the great thing about being involved into digital assets and the future of finance, and not even just the future of finance, the tokenization of almost every market that deals in inefficiencies will be changed by distributed ledger, blockchain, or digital assets in some way. And we are here still extremely early. I love all you guys. Take a deep breath, and it is what it is. I will see you guys tomorrow. All right? Later.